He stole my family's fortune, framed my father, and left us in ruins. Now I've taken everything from him. Alex Carter never expected to lose everything overnight. The Carter family had spent decades building their business empire from the ground up. What had once been a small real estate firm had flourished into a multi-million-dollar corporation. At its core were two men, Daniel Carter, Alex's father, and Richard Holloway, his father's best friend and business partner. But loyalty is a fragile thing, and greed has a way of turning friends into foes. It started with whispers, strange numbers in financial reports, sudden losses that made no sense. Daniel Carter dismissed them as accounting errors, trusting Richard as he had for years. That trust proved fatal. One day, the entire company collapsed. Richard had been siphoning funds, forging documents, and redirecting assets to his secret accounts overseas. With a final blow, he framed Daniel for fraud, making sure that when the dust settled, the Carter name would be nothing more than a cautionary tale of greed and failure. Alex was only 20 at the time, a college student with dreams of taking over the family business. Instead, he watched helplessly as his father was arrested, his mother broke down, and his home, his entire world, was taken away from him. Richard Holloway walked away with everything, smiling for the cameras as he blamed Daniel for poor financial decisions. That day, Alex made a vow. He would destroy Richard Holloway. The next few years were not easy. Alex spent them studying, not just in college, but in the dark corners of the internet, learning everything he could about corporate fraud, legal loopholes, and financial manipulation. He worked menial jobs, saved every penny, and built a new identity. The Carter name might have been ruined, but Alex Carter was gone. In his place was Adrian Vale, a sharp, charismatic businessman with an uncanny knack for numbers. Under this new name, he infiltrated the business world, making calculated moves until he was finally ready to step into Holloway's circle. He knew one thing: revenge was not about rushing. It was about patience, precision, and the perfect strike. During this period, Alex found a mentor, Dominic Graves, a seasoned financial strategist who had once been ruined by Richard's ruthless business tactics. Dominic saw in Alex a potential for something greater and took him under his wing. Through Dominic, Alex learned not just about financial warfare, but also psychological manipulation, corporate espionage, and the art of destruction without leaving a trace. Years passed, and Adrian Vale became a name that echoed through high society and corporate boardrooms. He had built a facade of respectability, aligning himself with the right people, gaining their trust while secretly pulling the strings from the shadows. Alex also trained himself physically. The mental warfare he was planning required patience, but he knew there might be moments where intimidation or direct confrontation would be necessary. Boxing, jiu-jitsu, and endurance training became part of his routine, shaping him into more than just a financial strategist. He became a man prepared for any situation. Alex's first move was subtle. He joined one of Holloway's subsidiary companies, using his insider knowledge of how Richard operated to maneuver his way up the ranks. He befriended key players, learned secrets that were hidden even from Holloway's closest advisors, and most importantly, he gained access to the financial records. Holloway had grown arrogant over the years. He believed himself untouchable. Alex used that arrogance against him. He started small, leaking minor financial discrepancies to regulators, planting whispers among shareholders, creating tiny ripples that, over time, would become waves. To ensure his deception remained undetected, Alex played both sides, occasionally offering Holloway insider tips about supposed threats. Each time, Holloway acted rashly, further destabilizing his empire. At the same time, Alex cultivated a relationship with investigative journalist Emma Reed. Emma had long been suspicious of Holloway, but never had the proof to expose him. With Alex feeding her carefully curated leaks, she began her own investigation, creating media pressure around Holloway's empire. Destroying Richard professionally was one thing, but Alex wanted him to suffer on a personal level too. He targeted Richard's son, Evan, who was as reckless as his father was cunning. Alex manipulated his way into Evan's inner circle, introducing him to habits that would lead to financial and social ruin. Gambling, shady investments, bad press. One by one, Evan fell into every trap Alex laid out for him. Meanwhile, Alex played the role of a loyal friend, offering advice that always seemed to push Evan toward destruction. Before long, Evan had burned through his trust fund and was in debt to dangerous people. At the same time, Alex began courting Richard's longtime business allies, sowing seeds of doubt in their minds. He convinced them that Holloway's empire was on the verge of collapse, and that their best chance of survival was to slowly withdraw their investments before it was too late. To further ensure Richard's isolation, Alex exploited his personal relationships. He orchestrated misunderstandings and betrayals, ensuring that Richard's most trusted allies turned their backs on him. With Richard's company on shaky ground and his family life in shambles, Alex set the final phase in motion. He exposed Holloway's years of fraud to the authorities in a way that left no room for escape. Documents were sent anonymously. Whistleblowers came forward, and the media was fed a scandal so juicy that the news cycle couldn't get enough of it. Richard Holloway was arrested, His company crumbled. His reputation was shattered beyond repair. And as he sat in court, awaiting his sentencing, he saw a familiar face in the crowd, Alex Carter. Their eyes met, and in that moment, Richard knew exactly who had orchestrated his downfall. Richard lunged forward, screaming Alex's name, but the guards restrained him. It was a moment Alex had waited years for. He gave Richard a small smile before turning away, satisfied that his revenge was complete. With his revenge complete, Alex could have disappeared. But he didn't. Instead, he reclaimed the Carter name, bought back what was rightfully his, and built something even greater. Because revenge wasn't just about destruction. It was about rising from the ashes and proving that the fallen could soar once again. Alex stood in front of the newly built Carter Enterprises, a symbol of resilience, of justice, and of a man who had taken everything back from those who had sought to destroy him. He was no longer just a survivor. He was a king reborn. And Richard Holloway? He spent the rest of his days rotting behind bars, haunted by the name of the boy he had once betrayed. As Alex looked at the city skyline, he knew his work wasn't finished. There were others like Richard, powerful, corrupt men who thought they were untouchable. And Alex Carter was just getting started.